Hi friends, how was your week? Were you able to be more intentional about loving yourself? And if so, what did that feel like? Are you ready to continue the journey into loving yourself today? I hope so. Start by centering yourself. Get comfortable and grounded. Center and prepare yourself for your practice today in whatever way works best for you. And when you're ready, take a moment to think of 3 essential things that you truly celebrate in yourself. What are the things in yourself that you're most proud of or grateful for? Hold those things in mind and just sit with yourself. Just be with yourself for a few moments. And now, if it's helpful, you may want to share in this prayer from Psalm 139. I'm using the Message version. Oh yes, you shaped me first inside, then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, high God, you're breathtaking. Body and soul, I am marvelously made. I worship in adoration. What a creation! You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made bit by bit, how I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you, the days of my life all prepared before I'd even lived one day. Your thoughts, how rare, how beautiful. God, I'll never comprehend them. I couldn't even begin to count them, any more than I could count the sand of the sea. Oh, let me rise in the morning and always live with you. Back in the days of slavery in the American South, a little boy was treated roughly by a landowner who told him that he was useless and would never be worth anything. Defiantly, the little boy stood to his full height and proudly said, I know I'm somebody because God don't make no junk. I compare that attitude with a rather different but fairly widespread response to our human value. I've heard it said many times, if everyone is special, then no one is. Where did that come from? And why do we believe that only some people can be special? Why does everyone's uniqueness and specialness reduce the uniqueness and specialness of some? Why do we feel the need to protect specialness for only a few? And what happens to our world and our relationships when we see only some people as special and unique? What does that mean for those who don't fit our standards of specialness? What happens when we recognize that every human is unique and that we all have our own expression of specialness? Not just that we're different, but that we all have a unique value, a unique contribution to make, and we are all an inherently precious and rare manifestation of life, consciousness, and humanity. Well, this is what happens. We avoid the injustice and horror that come about when we view some people as more valuable than others, and when we feel that it is okay to treat those who are less special as less human. But more importantly, how we live within ourselves and in our relationships changes. How we feel about ourselves and how we connect with others changes in a good way when we recognize and celebrate our own unique value. If that kid back in the days of slavery is right, and I believe he is, God don't make no junk. And it's time that we all started agreeing with God, not just about each other, but about ourselves. And so to begin with, I want to encourage you to start blowing your own trumpet, at least to yourself. We're all taught not to boast, not to be arrogant, and not to blow our own trumpet, but we've taken that to mean that humility is about stooping, denying our uniqueness and abilities, and hiding our achievements. I was once told not to mention that I'd been to university when I'm preaching because it makes those who haven't had a tertiary education feel inadequate. But what happens when we're not permitted to celebrate or even acknowledge our gifts, achievements, and our unique value? Well, then we devalue ourselves and we deny important parts of our unique selves and our experiences. We lose confidence and we doubt that we have anything of worth to offer to anyone else. This doesn't just undermine our mental, emotional, and spiritual health, but it also inhibits the extent to which we are willing and able to extend ourselves for the sake of others or for the greater good. Those who make a difference are those who believe they can. Yes, there is definitely a need for humility, but humility is not pretending you are less than you are. As someone once said, humility is standing to your full height and seeing those who are taller than you. It's not thinking less of yourself, as someone else said, it's thinking of yourself less, which flows from trusting in your belovedness and value. This kind of humility flows from having the confidence to show up fully and authentically because you don't have to worry about whether or not you are inadequate. See, I think much of what we call humility is false and is just another name for shame, self-doubt, and inadequacy. And when we react negatively to the confidence and sense of worth in others, it actually says more about us than it does about them. Rather than trying to force others to hide their glory, we do better to learn how to shine our unique glory more freely and vibrantly. Linked with learning to be comfortable to acknowledge and celebrate our value and experience is learning to practice our sacredness. The path to genuine humility is not in denying our giftedness, and it's not in trying to do more, be more, and achieve more in order to overcome our sense of inadequacy. Humility arises from a deep sense of our own sacredness. It flows from knowing that we matter and have value just because we are human and we're filled with life and the divine image and spirit reside within us, however you may understand or define the divine. As Gerard Manley Hopkins put it, "For Christ plays in 10,000 places, lovely in limbs and lovely in eyes, not his." But it's not enough just to accept as some kind of intellectual truth that we are sacred and that others are sacred too. We need to live from our unique sacredness. To quote another line from Hopkins, "The just person acts in God's eye what in God's eye he is, Christ." Too often we doubt what God or the universe or spirit says about us. We deny our sacredness and value, and we live from our sense of being less than. And when we do this, we can never be fully alive and we can never love ourselves. And that means that we can never truly love others or fully relate to them with energy and life in a way that brings life back to them. When we think we are less, we automatically hold back, shrink back, and defer to others. We struggle to claim our rightful place and live in it, and we struggle to bring our full gifted selves into our world to make the contribution that we can for the sake of the greater good. But when we know that we are little Christs, incarnations of the divine, sacred and filled with spirit in our own unique way, then we're able to walk boldly in the world. We can be vulnerable and authentic and express our giftedness in ways that bring us to life and bring life to those around us. It begins in learning to know and love the sacred being that we are, and then out of that, to recognize and value the sacredness of others. Our world is filled with people who dismiss, devalue, bully, and hurt others in their quest to feel better about themselves. We all have times when we allow ourselves to boost our sense of self and worth by viewing others as somehow less. It's a competitive society that we live in, and we're taught from a young age that only the winners are worth anything. We build our whole society and our sense of self on a flawed and biased meritocracy that arbitrarily assigns huge value to some very strange abilities and people, and assigns little value to some abilities and people who bring immense value into the world. But perhaps it's pointless trying to decide who brings more value when we all bring value and it all adds up and it's all needed. Who in the end can decide what value is much and what is little? It's far better for ourselves and for our world for us to let go of our need to compete and to use our dominance over others as a measure of our worth. It's far better to recognize our unique sacredness and giftedness, to agree with God that we are not junk, and so to live with boldness from our value and strength. Sit with these thoughts for a few moments. What ideas, emotions, physical feelings, or questions arise in you? I encourage you to journal any that might need more attention through this week. And now take some time to acknowledge and intentionally celebrate 3 things that express your sacredness. If it feels helpful, speak those 3 things out loud. Try to be as bold and joyful as you can. And if speaking out loud is tough for you, feel free to journal the 3 things you're celebrating about yourself. And you can pause the video as you do this. When you're ready, bring your practice to a close in whatever way helps you to prepare for the challenges and joys of your daily living. As you go through the week ahead, I encourage you to keep celebrating yourself and your unique sacredness. You might also want to write a love letter to yourself, focusing on the 3 things you celebrate about yourself. You can write a little each day or write your letter all at once and then read it every day. But again, be intentional about your self-love this week and what a difference it makes in your life. And that's it for today's practice. I hope it's been meaningful for you. How do you feel about celebrating yourself and blowing your own trumpet a little, even if only with yourself? What are some life-giving ways that you've found to celebrate yourself? Please share your insights in the comments. Thanks so much for sharing in this practice. See you next time.